Howdy, folks. Danny with Danny Links Calling and Bulldog Smith Farms. Today I'm gonna do a little bit of Bible study, and I'm gonna go to Matthew 24. If you want to follow along, if you want to study a little bit, I'm just gonna kind of walk through it, clear up a few things I think have been done. So we're in Matthew 24, and I'm going to start at verse 1. The destruction of the temple and signs of the end times. I want you to think about that. The destruction of the temple and signs of the end times. Does it say the destruction of the temple end times? Like it's one thing? The destruction of the temple, signs of the end times. Two things. A lot of people read this and I see it all the time. Stuff I'm watching about it. And it's just laid out like it's one conversation and one thing right through. And it's not even written out that way. All right, Matthew 24, starting verse 1. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to the buildings. Big, beautiful, gigantic stones, right? Hand-hewn, beautiful, giant stones. The temple covered in gold, gleaming in the sun. Gold. That's why the Romans completely burned it down and tore it down to the foundations, because when they caught it on fire. And the gold melted, and it ran all down into crevices and all down in the rock. They dug every bit of that up out of there and hauled it to Rome. Tons of gold they hauled out of there is what study I've done says. Just tons and tons of gold they hauled out of there. So he's walking away, and they say, hey, Jesus, look at these beautiful buildings. Ain't this amazing? It's amazing. You know, most of these guys from tiny little town, and this stuff's, man, it's like going to New York City, and you've never been anywhere but, Belglade, Florida, and Woodville, Alabama. Just little bitty places. Pretty impressive. A lot of terrible. Pretty impressive. So Jesus says to them, do you see all these things? All these beautiful buildings, all this gold, all this magnificence. He asked them, do you see all this? Truly, I tell you, he's saying, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. Not one stone will be left on another. When you go to Israel today, they tell you that the temple is on the Temple Mount. Now it's built up. It was a fort. They're giant walls of stone. And the western wall, the Wailing Wall, where the Jews go to pray, because they believed that the temple was right on the other side of that wall. giant stones. Did Jesus lie? He just meant most of them. Ain't what he said. He pretty clearly said every stone will be thrown down. There will not be one stone on another. Every one will be thrown down. There's a whole study on why that Temple Mount is not where the temple was. It's the archaeology is undeniable. You know what's right behind them walls? A hallway with Roman legion's number carved into the wall. Carved deep into the wall. Not like etched into the wall. Big. Kind of like when you walk into a barracks and there's a sign with the, that's what's behind that wall. There's a break there. That's a story that came out. His disciples said, look at all this beautiful infrastructure. Look at all of it. He said, you see all of it? You see all this? I'm telling you, there ain't going to be none of it left. It's going to be completely wiped out. Then there's a break. Bam. They're on the Mount of Olives. They're not at the temple. They're at the Mount of Olives across the valley. And you can sit on the Mount of Olives and look across the valley and see the temple and all over there. It's across the valley over there. These things happen 2 different times. That's just one point. All right. Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. Oh, I skipped something. I went past let me start here. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. They're sitting on the Mount of Olives now. They're not over there by the temple. They're across the valley from it. Tell us, they said, when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming at the end of the age? Now, this is what people do. They assume that they say, when will this happen? That they're still standing there talking about the temple being destroyed. And he says, all this stuff's going to be thrown. And they say, when's that going to happen? They have walked down the mountain, to the valley, up the other side. On the other side of the valley. Now, are they talking about the temple being destroyed? Probably. But they don't say, hey, when's this going to happen? When's the temple going to be destroyed? That's not what they say. You got to think, too. If the temple's completely destroyed and there's nothing left of it, that's the end of the world to them. The end of the world's got to be coming. If the temple's destroyed, all of this is completely destroyed. And if you know the prophecies about it being destroyed, it says that it will be plowed as a field and planted. So Jesus knew all that. He taught them all kinds of this stuff. I would think they'd know that. Um, but they don't just say, when's this going to happen? They say, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Now, could they be assuming that he's coming back and it's the end of the age when the temple is destroyed? Yeah, that would be a good assumption, you know, um, coming from their perspective, you know. Well, we know that didn't happen, right? Temple was destroyed just like he said, but it wasn't the end of. It was the end of the the Jews in Israel age, for 2,000 years, which is the end of the world, but not the last days. Jesus answered and said, watch out that no one deceives you. And you gotta remember too, Jesus ain't just talking to just them. He's talking to all of us. He's talking to us right now. He's talking to them. He's talking to us right now. He's talking to people over all these centuries. Watch out that no one deceives you. Pretty important. There's a lot of deceivers out there. Fancy robes, fancy suits, gigantic cathedrals. I got a little thing that makes my camera easy to use and stuff, and it floats around. It's always right where you want it to not be. And he says, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. And they'll deceive many. Many are going to come, claiming I'm the Messiah, and they'll deceive many. Have we not seen that over time? How many people in my lifetime have said, I am the Messiah, follow me? David Koresh, oh gosh, when I was a kid, got all the people to go to and drink Kool-Aid and kill themselves. I can't remember his name right now. I know it, but how many of these people have there been? You know, and that's just in my lifetime. Imagine it over the centuries. And things are definitely ramping up. Gosh, we've just had one here just a few years ago, I think in Miami, saying he was Jesus, and people followed him. A lot of people followed him. He wasn't poor. And they're going to deceive a lot of people, and they have, and they're going to continue to do that, and all the way to the great deceiver in the end, the Antichrist. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. He told them that you're going to hear wars and rumors of wars. We've heard of them since there's been wars. But see to it that you're not alarmed. Look, he's telling them, when you see these things, he's telling us, when you see these things, he's telling people through history, when you see these things, don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. Because these things got to happen. They got to happen. Wars, rumors of wars, they're going to happen, and time's going to come and go, and this stuff's just going to happen. But the end is still to come. So just because there's a war right now, don't mean today's the end. Tomorrow's the end. Next week's the end. Next month's the end. Next year's the end. It's a war. There's rumors of wars. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the end. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. This is war. There will be famine and earthquakes in various places. How many kingdoms have rose against kingdoms and nations against nations, and still doing it right now to this moment, right now? We're in Iran right now. Iran's been trying to destroy Israel through proxies, through missiles, for decades, saying they're going to destroy us too, doing everything they can to harm the Jews and the great Satan America and the little Satan Israel. And there'd be famines. Been a lot of famines. When I was young, there was the Ethiopian famine. There's famines all over right now. And earthquakes in various places. There's been earthquakes all over the world. All these are the beginning of the birth pains. Now listen, all these things, wars and rumors of wars and nations rising against nations and famines and earthquakes and all over the world, and all these things are just the beginning of birth pains. They're just the beginning of birth pains. Now, there's a word there, birth pains, and the Greek word, Odin, I know, right, is very specific. And we know what it means because it says birth pains. They laid it out for us. So what are birth pains? Well, women know. If they've had children, they know. If you've had children, you know, you've watched your wife go through birth pains. There's a pattern to it, right? They start off relatively mild and far apart. And as time goes on, they get more intense, closer together. More intense, closer together. More intense, closer together. Until at the end they're just continuous. Right? It's like, like, oh, they're a minute apart now. We got to go. It's time. They're a minute apart. They were 20 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart. Now they're a minute apart. Then they just get closer and closer and closer. And they get stronger, right? They get stronger, more painful, and closer together. Right? So all these things are supposed to follow. He's telling you right here, they're going to follow this pattern. Yep, you're always going to have wars and rumors of wars, they're going to get closer and closer together. And worse, there are going to be more wars closer together till it gets to the point there's just war all the time. Have we seen the pattern here? We can't hardly stay out of a war because there's somebody want to destroy and kill, and at some point you got to go kill them and destroy their junk until they can't kill and destroy anymore. We had to do it in World War II. You reckon we bombed electric facilities and fuel plants and food supplies? We bombed everything. Carpet bombed the place. They were doing it to all of Europe and England and all the way over to dang Russia. At some point, somebody has to do something. Or the devil's going to take over the whole world. Hitler, Mao, Stalin, Lenin. I mean, so do we have more wars? Are they closer together? Are they getting more intense? Does it seem like there's just more at stake all the time? We having famines? Are we hearing a lot about the water supply running out? Governments buying up all the property in states that border water, food supplies running out, not enough fertilizer, countries being so stupid they tell farmers they can't use fertilizer or pesticide, so then bugs eat up your whole crop and you can't grow hardly no crop because you don't have no fertilizer. All over Europe they've been doing this. The ignorant West is committing suicide. And I've grown some stuff. Let me tell you what happens when you don't have nothing to fertilize. Now, you can use all kinds of different things for fertilizer, and I try to use all kinds of different things. Fish protein, and I mean, I use all of that stuff. And chicken poop, and I want some rabbits because their poop you can put right on the garden. You only have to compost it. And you know what too? I've tried all the natural remedies to get rid of the bugs. They do a pretty good job on some things. A lot of I get away with it a whole bunch. And then the Japanese beetles come and go to eating your green bean plants down, and you can stand there and spray that stuff right on them and they just laugh and just keep munching. And you get the good stuff and bring out the nuclear weapons and they go and you have to literally stand there and just soak the plants. And I've got traps out everywhere to catch them, catch thousands and thousands of them, and they're still eating my stuff. You're going to get out there and pick them off one by one all day, every day. You're just going to stand there picking them off. They're coming. They're coming. All right. We got famines coming. We've had them, and they're coming, and worse than ever. And it's man-created to a large extent. As it usually is, just in different ways. I see that the statistics say there's not really any more hurricanes than there used to be, or not more earthquakes than there used to be. we've only been keeping records for about 100 years. So I don't know how true that is, because 100 years and trying to guess, is there more than there used to be, are there more now than there were thousands of years ago? We don't have records. But we do know that tragedies and stuff and famines and stuff back then used to happen way apart, centuries. Many, many years and centuries in some cases. It seems like they're more often than that. Right? All right. Then we get to verse 9. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. Yeah, you ever hear anybody complain about how the Jew, the Hindus are trying to push their faith on people, and they believe crazy mess, and just wearing them out? You ever hear anybody do that? You ever hear anybody do that about the Buddhists? No, they're out here doing all the chakra and doing all this stuff that leads back to these demonic traditions and faiths. Because, there's only one God, and everything else is a demon. There is no other God. So if they're either worshiping nothing or they're worshiping demons. And we know in the past they definitely had to have been worshiping demons, because they were slaughtering their children to burn on the altar for them. And having orgies to have them children for him, and then, all this stuff. This sounds pretty bad. You're going to be persecuted. You're going to be handed over to the law, be put to death. You'll be hated by everybody. I've been hated by everybody. I'm hated by everybody right now. Right this minute. Every dang body I know. It's about everybody I know hates me. Because you know why? I stand up and tell the truth. And people hate. They hate the truth. They love lies. Lies sound so nice. Standing and just telling the truth and not being willing to back down. People don't like that. They like go along, get along people. I ain't a go along, get along people. Jesus wasn't either. I know this hippie Jesus everybody tells you about. Jesus wasn't a go along, get along guy. They murdered him for it. And he said, if they hate me, they'll hate you. I'm down with it. And then he says, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. There you go again. But we're into a whole new realm of it, right? Because we're in the birth pains. We're in the birth pains here. When it's more intense, it's closer together. The stuff's happening more, and it's being worse. It's worse, more intense. All right, folks, I'm going to end this right here for just a minute. It carried on for just over an hour, so I thought I'll just break this in half. I thought about breaking it into 3 or 4 sections, but I'm just going to leave it at 30 minutes, and then we're going to pick up and finish the rest of that on the next one. That way, 30 minutes is a little easier to find than an hour. And if I know you try to well, I'll save it and I'll finish it up later, and you never get back to it. And I think I think we need to be learning this stuff. And a lot of y'all might know a lot more about it than I do, but I know what I do know, and there's a lot of people that don't know what I know. So I figure I'm going to share what the Lord has given me. And you know, like He said, He gave us these signs so we'll look, we'll pay attention, we'll be ready. And He also said, don't be afraid, don't be worried about it, don't be worried all over it. Just be prepared. And I believe as we get closer to the end, we're understanding things that our grandparents couldn't understand. Our great-grandparents couldn't understand. I know that to be a fact. I remember talking to them, and then later, like my aunts and uncles, that had talked to them in years past, and things we could understand because of television, and then cable news, and now we have, well, it's on the phone right there. My great-grandparents couldn't understand how everybody would see those two witnesses in Jerusalem all at the same time. Well, think about it now. You bloop, you'll get a little notification on your phone. Everybody in the world will be, turn the phone on, and there they'll be. So, pay attention. Gosh, I've got so much. I can't film it all. I can't get to all of it. So I'm just doing what I can get to, because I've got a wife too. You know, she needs a minute every now and then. So y'all, keep your powder dry, keep your blade sharp, keep everything sharpened up, because we're living in perilous times, and you're gonna need to be ready. And look, you know, I think it might being prepared and all that. I'm a Boy Scout. Being prepared and all this stuff. Be prepared. All right, but you can also point to having gold buried in the backyard and 3 tons of groceries that you got to try to load in the truck at the last minute to get out of town as a burden, a negative thing that'll slow you down. When the Lord said, when you see the abomination in the temple, get out of town. He said, don't even run back and get your coat. Keep going. He said, jump into your Suburban and get going. So, there's all kinds of stuff we can talk about here, but I'm gonna cut this off and then do the other half and then share that. And you can cut it up and watch it as you want to. God bless y'all. And keep prayed up. Study the Word. Listen to the Lord. And one way He talks to us is through that Word. And another way is that Holy Spirit. So, y'all be blessed. And I'll see you back next time at Danny Link's Calling. And come check me out on Bulldog Smith Farms. You might like a pocket knife or a belt or flashlights and hunting gear. Might get into some farming over there. I'm going to start telling some stories on here. So, y'all be blessed. And I'll see you next time at Danny Link's Calling.